Okay, let's end this debate. It's been going on way too long. Should Colby Covington's takedown have been awarded? Now, first thing we have to know, this has nothing to do with if Colby would have won, if he would have lost. There is an argument that the third round possibly could have went to him if this takedown was awarded because of how close the round was, but I'll be covering that in another video. For this one, we're going to be looking at if the takedown should have been awarded to him, if it should have counted in MMA. So Colby Covington's quote-unquote takedown against Kamaru Usman was not officially awarded to him. He got under and around Usman on the takedown, pulled him over and tripped him out twice, where Usman stood up from the first one, got tripped out again on the second, and stayed on the ground a little bit longer before he stood up again to grab the fence in order not to fall forward again. But the big thing we have to define here is what counts as a takedown. The sport of MMA and the sport of wrestling count takedowns differently. And this is the biggest issue. In the sport of wrestling, a takedown is awarded after one of the neutral wrestlers gets behind the opponent and forces them on the mat to their stomach, side, knees, or weight on all fours, or takes them directly to the back or buttocks without getting behind them and becomes the offensive wrestler. So pretty much just getting the opponent on the ground while also being on top of them. But if they're not going to be on top of them, then they also have to be the offensive wrestler. Colby got Usman to the ground on all fours, and he was on top of Usman. That is awarded a 2-point takedown in wrestling. We also have to note that freestyle and folk style wrestling award takedowns very similarly. This was explained by Daniel Cormier, an Olympic wrestler who currently still coaches wrestling, who should know the rules to coach wrestling, as well as other fighters who have wrestled before, saying that this takedown would have been awarded in wrestling 100%. Now, the definition of a takedown in MMA is a little bit different. It's more about control rather than getting the opponent on the ground. You could take the opponent on the ground any way you can, but you need to establish control on top of them instead of them instantly getting back up. If you can stop the opponent from maneuvering around, that is going to be awarded control in MMA. Now, just like many rules in MMA, the control factor is a little bit ambiguous. Again, it's left into interpretation as to how long the control has to happen, what exactly does have to happen for this control to be warranted as a takedown, because Colby got Usman to the ground and Usman was on all fours for exactly 1 second. Does that count as control for the takedown? He got him down, he was on top of him, Usman was down for a second. But how we figure this out is, did they ever award takedowns that were similar to Colby's here? Was any other situation similar to what happened here with Colby and Usman? Yes. You can go all the way back to when Khabib fought Abel Trujillo, where he picked up and took Abel Trujillo to the ground. Trujillo, just like Usman, landed on all fours. But just like the Colby and Usman scenario, Abel Trujillo was only on the ground with Khabib on top of him for almost exactly 1 second before Trujillo stood up. Yet, this was counted as a takedown for Khabib. And this wasn't the only time. It happened multiple times in that fight. Now, some will say those are the old rules. This is before 2016. But 2016 is the only rule set where they actually define what a takedown is. I could not find any rules in MMA that define what a takedown is and what control is before 2016. So we don't know if the rules changed or 2016 just clarified of what it always was. But there are also other recent examples of this. Arman Tsarukyan versus Islam Makhachev, which happened in 2019. Arman Tsarukyan got the body lock just like Colby did and just like Khabib did. He attempted to take down Islam Makhachev, and Makhachev was doing the best he could to stay posted and neutral in the takedown. Even in wrestling, right here with the wizard on top, this would not have been awarded as a takedown. Many people could be fooled by the scramble before the quote-unquote control happens, where Arman eventually gets on top of Islam. It was until Arman Tsarukyan stepped around and switched up into the double leg, Islam was forced to turn around on all fours, just like Usman and Abel Trujillo. And look at the control. Arman Tsarukyan is almost in the exact same position Colby Covington was on top of Usman. Body lock and on top of Islam's left leg. But how long was Islam Makhachev on the ground for? About 1.5 seconds. Yet, they awarded Arman Tsarukyan this takedown. So through consistency, we know they're not being fair to Colby Covington for that takedown. They've awarded Khabib the takedowns. They have awarded Arman Tsarukyan the takedown, even though they were so similar to what Colby did against Usman. And the other thing is, Usman grabbed onto the cage in order not to get taken down again. So it was actually the ref's job to potentially put them back down on the mat, knowing that's what saved Usman from the continuous takedowns. And that pretty much just wraps it up. This 100%, we all know, would have been awarded a takedown in wrestling. And through consistency, should have been awarded in MMA as well. And honestly, this whole argument shows how great Usman is. The fact that there's such a big debate as to whether Usman was taken down for the first time in his career shows how great of a wrestler the guy is. But ultimately, yes, Colby Covington is the first guy to take down Kamaru Usman.